Hi, I'm Crystal.
And I'm Neoshia, and you're listening to the Rom-Com Detectives.
Welcome to Rom-Com Detectives, episode 67, Checkmate. Today, Neoshia and I will be talking about episode 5 of Castle season 2, When the Bough Breaks.
This episode originally aired on October 19th, 2009, and it was written by Renee Echeverria and directed by John Terlesky.
Okay, case briefing. The victim in this one was Eliska Sokol. She died of blunt force trauma. The killer was Dr. Talbot, who we know from The
From
Mentalist
and everywhere else,
and
really.
Dollhouse and a lot of other things. But the motive was a baby swapping cover up. Anyway, we just
Salacious.
as we just, so guest stars as we just mentioned, Reed Diamond, he played Dr. Cameron Talbot, and he's from Dollhouse, The Mentalist. He was Ray Hafner on The Mentalist. But I think probably what he's most known for is Homicide Life on the Streets, and he actually hosts a rewatch podcast for that show.
Hmm.
So, and he's
Yeah.
also been on Bosch and a bunch of other things. I see him as a guest star in a lot of things.
Yeah, I think so Homicide Life on the Streets, he was a recurring character, and I think now he is just in everywhere because he's also in Bones for an arc. I don't think he did Fringe. I think that might be the one show he didn't do in this like era. But yeah, he's I think a pretty great or at least he's utilized as a pretty great character actor. There was a show he was on Peacock, and I'm forgetting the name of it, a couple years back that was a horror show. It was pretty good.
uh, and then there's Diana Maria Riva. It was so funny because I think last episode we were like, "Oh, this Karpowski lady, does she come back?" She comes back in this one, but it's the last episode that she's going to be in. So, but she's been on Dead to Me, Tracker, and The West Wing. Then we have Elaine Hendricks. She was also on The Mentalist. She was in Red Herring. I think she was one of the chefs. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I, as a millennial, know Elaine Hendricks as Meredith from The Parent Trap.
Ah. Oh, okay. I thought I recognized her because she had this like evil stepmom vibe when I was watching this,
Yeah.
right?
When if you think about it, that movie's a little wild because she was only I think the character is only, like, in her mid-20s or something, and so, like, yeah, she has an evil stepmom vibe because she's, like, in her mid-20s marrying this dude that has a 12-year-old and apparently has 2 12-year-olds but didn't tell her he had 2 12-year-olds. Spoilers for Parent Trap if you've never seen that.
You're talking about the one with Lindsay Lohan, right?
Yeah, the 1999
Yeah.
version, right?
But yeah, she's also been on Dynasty and Joan of Arcadia. There was Ivo, is it Ivo? Ivo Nandi. He played Theodore Hajek. He's been on Law and Order OC, which oh my god, which was just canceled yesterday,
Mm.
or they announced
Mhm.
just yesterday that it was canceled. I'm so sad about that.
Yeah, and do you
That was a really good Law and Order
I mean, do
offshoot.
you seriously think we'll never see Elliot Stabler again?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure they'll bring him back on SVU, but this is like that was like Stabler's show,
Mhm.
and I really liked that one. I resisted watching it for a long time, but then one day I was bored, and so I started it because I find Christopher Maloney and Elliot Stabler in general to be a little too aggressive. I want to say maybe that's what it is. So I was hesitant to start it, but it was actually really entertaining. So I'm sad
Yeah.
that it's not going to be a show anymore. And you could kind of tell because Tom Ellis's show CIA, they're using the set that OC was using for their
Mhm.
office. So people recognized it on CIA, and we were like, "Ooh, that doesn't bode well."
Yeah, and I wonder though if that's like a cost-cutting measure for some of the studios to do that, to just like share since so many of these shows are only like 12, 13 orders anyway, or season orders anyway.
Yeah, but I feel like if like there's sharing and then there's like sorry, we're gonna just take it over because you guys aren't gonna make a show anymore. Because I mean, if they're running in the same season at the same time, then I don't think they can share it, you know. And they did like kind of significant changes to the set, I thought, like decor wise and stuff like that. But I mean, you could recognize the infrastructure of the room,
Hmm.
but yeah, I feel like the changes that they made, I don't know, I just didn't really see them able to just on a weekly basis, daily basis, share that space. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just assumed that one show filmed like before and then the next show filmed after kind of thing since they're all so
Uh,
short. Yeah. That was my assumption. I don't know. You might be right. Like they just said, "Okay, you guys aren't coming back, so use the set."
yeah, no, I feel like if it's like their home office kind of thing, it that's too much work to have to take everything up and down like on a daily basis or even like a weekly basis. So, but yeah, they finally announced it yesterday. So sad. But back to Ivo. He's also been on Sons of Anarchy and Boardwalk Empire. There was Debbie Mazar. She played Paula. She also had like a evil lady vibe, and I know I've seen her in some kind of movie. I mean, she's from Empire Records, but I haven't seen it in so long. I don't think that that's what I recognize her from. She's been on
So,
Younger and Entourage. So, what do you know her from?
Goodfellas.
Oh,
So she's not evil per se, but she is one of
ah,
Hank's mistresses in that movie.
okay, okay. Was it his wife was Karen, right? So you're talking about
Yeah, his
the
wife is played by
girlfriend,
his wife is played by her name
Lorraine
escaping.
Bracco.
That's it. It's Lorraine Bracco.
Yeah. Okay. And then lastly, we have Francisco Viana. He had a very small role, like to the point where he didn't even have a name in this episode. He's just credited as manager, but he was a detective on Dexter, and he's been on Lie to Me at 911 as well. It's always funny because when I'm looking through the IMDb, I'm like, okay, that's everybody named. But then I'm like, maybe I should click on these like extra people who like have tiny roles and see if they if they made it. Okay, episode breakdown. The episode begins with Castle's book agent, Paula, showing up at his apartment at 7 a.m. to tell him that he's at the top of a list to write another series for the character that inspired him to become a writer. And she doesn't want to jinx it by telling him who it is, but they both know who it is. But she used the word agita. I'd never heard that before. Have you ever, had you ever heard that word before?
No, and in fact, I looked it up.
Yeah, I looked it up too because I saw it in the subtitles. I was like, "What the heck is agita?" But apparently, it's slang for like being annoyed at something,
Yeah, which
like
makes
having
sense because
anxiety.
it looks like the stem or the root for agitated.
Yeah, yeah. But I thought that was interesting. The because I don't think I used to watch Castle with the subs when I first watched it. So like these kinds of things just I think go right over my head. But when you're reading it, you know, it kind of jumps out at you and you're like, "Oh, I've never heard of that word before."
Yeah, I can no longer hear my TV without subtitles.
Yeah. So Castle gets a call from Beckett and this he skips it, right? Like this, he doesn't take her call.
Yeah, he skips it.
Because he wants to hear more about this book deal because this is important to him. But basically, he doesn't go down to the scene right away, and Beckett and the guys are looking at the body. It's a young woman in a manhole, and what was she covered in? Was it like mud or is it sewage? Because she's
Some kind of like soot or I mean, listen, it's New York City. It's dirty. And I don't mean that in the, oh, it's gross or I mean it is gross, but like not in a negative way. I mean it just is, right? It's a big city.
yeah.
There's a lot of garbage, dirt, dust, grime, sewage. It's gross.
Perlmutter is on the scene in this one, and he tells them that she likely died of blunt force trauma about 2 days ago. And so that makes them wonder, like, oh, how come nobody reported her missing? Castle finally shows up, and how late do you think he was? Because they're giving him kind of a lot of crap for, oh, you finally decided to show up.
Yeah, I mean, he had to be like an hour or so late. because, like, the body is already being put in the van, like, so they've already done the scene. Like, they've done
Yeah.
everything, right? Like, it's
Oh,
been
so you think
processed.
a significant amount of time passes?
Yeah, because the scene's been processed, right? Like, they don't just come and grab the body, like, they have to, like, review the scene and all that, and, of course, they don't tell us all of that, but, like, we often see them standing with the body, looking at things, like, reviewing the scene, and they were already done, right? They were packing up.
Mm. But because he showed up late, they like started giving him all kinds of made up details. They're saying that she was half eaten and covered in green slime. And when he like looks to Beckett to give him real details, she plays along too, and what does she tell him?
She starts with something that sounds normal, and then starts mentioning canisters, like, there's biohazard canisters, with the body or something.
I really like when they mess with him like this kind of stuff. It's cute. I thought
Mhm.
it shows their familiarity and their friendship.
Yeah, and I mean, they're just teasing him, right? Like, cause he is so late, and also they didn't really need him at the scene. They don't usually
Yeah,
need him at the
yeah.
scene, right? So, yeah.
So they go to the morgue, and Promoter tells him that he couldn't find any results on her fingerprints, so she's a Jane Doe. But he says that based on her dental work, that she was probably Eastern European. And then he gives them a candy wrapper, and Castle looks at it, and he guesses that it's Czech, and that's where the episode title comes from. He says that he once tried to order a mail order bride, a Czech maid. That was a
Which
really good one.
which was funny because he actually said a Russian, right? Didn't he use the word Russian, like Russian mail order bride? And then he
Oh,
came up with
I
the
don't
Czech part.
know.
I think he did put Russian in there.
Castle invites Perlmutter to his book lunch party. I don't think I saw him there. He like makes like some kind of like mumbling answer. He says, "I'll put you down as a maybe." I don't think they've really like. I thought because of what happens later with Perlmutter, I thought that this scene was gonna have like animosity between them, but they seemed fine, like
Mhm.
tolerating each other. I guess his disdain for him for Castle comes later.
Yeah, and I mean, because I mean, he kind of when he was taking the body from the scene, right? He's kind of already like, "Hey, we gotta get her to the actual autopsy room, and I can tell you more." I think that's just who Pearl Mutter is.
His sarcasm.
Like, the sarcasm, very, like, kinda direct, and he's not like Lainey, who will kind of entertain Castle.
Yeah. He kind of reminded me of Jane and Steiner, and this is kind of what I was actually hoping that they would do with Steiner on The Mentalist, because actually, like, the whole storyline with Jane and Steiner was pretty short. I think it's only 2 to 3 episodes.
Mhm.
I think it's three. But the whole thing with Perlmutter throughout the Castle series, I actually really liked the way that they sparred verbally between each other. So that's kind of what I had been hoping for with Steiner, but it didn't really bring him back very often.
Which kinda makes sense with the Castle how they do it on Castle because, like, in this genre of shows, the consultants tend to be people who work with the police, obviously.
Yeah.
But, like, there was also a common type of show, at least in the 2000s, with, like, um, Crossing Jordan, Body of Proof, Rizzoli and Isles, where the consultant was a medical examiner.
Mm,
So, I mean, I that's kind of, I think, a neat thing about this because in some shows like this, you know, Perlmutter or Laney could very well be the consultant.
yeah. They're a lot more hands on too, right? So like Scarpetta,
Oh, yeah,
who
and
who is
Scarpetta.
who is on the extreme end of the helping air scale of things. But so Montgomery asked Beckett what Castle's doing when they come back, because apparently they went to go stop at at a dozen little Czech shops, and he wanted to buy a toy, or she says he insisted on buying something at every one, and he's like trying to like trying lollipops and everything, because like, they were looking for the candy specifically, right?
Mhm.
So, but they didn't find it. But during this scene, Montgomery mentions Castle's next book, and Beckett's like, "Oh my god, what?" Well, she's like almost panicking, right? She's like, is it going to be another Nikki Heat novel because she kind of saw the light at the end of the tunnel with the book
Mhm.
coming out? And but I found it funny that they wrote it this way, because why would she think that he would only write one Nikki Heat novel? Right? Like his Derek Storm thing was a really long running series, so
Mhm.
that's Nikki is supposed to be the launch of his new main character. So I never would have thought that he would only write one Nikki Heat book, right?
Right, and I don't think that she really thinks that either. Um, I mean, I guess there is the point of view of like, sometimes when you go from having a male-centered property and you try to like do something that's a little bit more female-centered, it may not
Hmm.
catch on as quickly, right? Like, I know we've talked about like the Ghostbusters thing, and there have been other like I think Oceans, so Oceans 8 having an all-female cast, and then now we're coming back with Oceans 11, which is going to go back to focusing on George Clooney's character, right? So, where I was going with that is sometimes when you see that happen, like, yeah, it's only going to be one book for the female character because it's not going to be as popular. And so you
Yeah.
kind of expect it won't do as well. That's one thing that could happen. But the other thing, and I think this is more likely, is I don't think that she actually thinks that. I think that this is one of those like doth protest too much situations,
Yeah.
where she's like, oh, it's just, what do you mean he's going to write another book? What do you mean he's staying around?
It's
Because
just
I
for
don't
show, you mean?
Yeah, I don't think she really wants him to leave. And I think there's a couple of points in the episode that point to that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but she's not ready to say that yet, right? Like she's not ready to say, I want you to be here, Castle, because I mean, they can solve the crimes without him, let's be clear. But I don't think that she's ready to quite admit that she likes having him around and, wants him to stay on a more regular basis.
I've always found it interesting that she does not have a partner, because Ryan and Esposito are partners with each other, and yet Beckett doesn't have anyone.
Yeah, it's almost like they set that up.
Uh-huh. But okay, so speaking of Ryan Esposito, they returned and they found the candy, and the store owner gave them a lead on where to find her. So they go to the apartment building and they talk to her landlord, and he says that she's been living there for 6 months and she was a really nice lady who paid her rent on time in cash. And in her apartment, Castle and Beckett were kind of, I don't know, they seem kind of subdued. Like they were looking around at her place and they thought it was kind of sad, right? So,
Mhm. I think this was a good, like, mood setter for the episode.
yeah.
'Cause I found this episode to be much more of a show and not a tell kinda episode, if that makes sense, in terms
Hmm.
of what's going on in the background and how do we get to the end, and so, like, I think this is a good deal of foreshadowing in terms of, like, how sad her place is,
Yeah.
and just sort of how devoid of life it is.
I have a comment to make later on that I'll come back to. We'll come back to this, but Castle finds a photo of a child and a woman with a scratched out face, and so they take that. And so at home, Alexis asks Castle for an invite for Castle's lunch party for her friend, and he thinks that it's because this friend likes his books, but Martha and Alexis both laugh at him. And I thought it was kind of mean the way that Martha was just like tearing him down. She's like, "You're so dense, and it's not always about you." She's like, "Wow, this is his book launch party."
Yeah, I mean, it is a little Martha is so interesting with how she interacts and engages with Alexis because it's her granddaughter, but she acts almost like a crazy aunt, if that makes sense. Because,
Yeah,
like, I don't know that my grandma would have come up with, like, of course your daughter doesn't want to be at your thing for you. She wants to go because there's boys there. And that's why her friend wants to come. And I'm also like, how many boys are going to be at this thing,
I
realistically?
know.
Because
Aren't they going to be men?
men, but then also, like, it seems to me like this is more, and I don't know much about the genre at large, but it seems to me when we've seen Castle's fans gather, it's been more
It's
women than men.
women. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Martha wants him to hand out flyers for her play at his book launch. Uh, but and when he refuses, he she tells him that he ever since Paula stopped by, he's been insufferable. And so I guess she knows about this spy spy series that he might get to write.
It's so funny that they won't say the name, and it's probably because they couldn't get the rights, or it's a running I think it's kind of like a running joke about, like, not saying the name, but it's just so funny to me that they won't say the name, and they
Yeah.
stop anyone from saying it.
Yeah. And they make a big deal, like, "Don't jinx it. Don't say his name." But Martha points out that it would make Beckett really happy because then he wouldn't shadow her anymore. He looks kinda taken aback by this, right? Like, "What do you mean she doesn't want me around?" And I kinda like the whole naive thing that they do on both sides where the two of them are just like, "What? What do you mean? I wouldn't get to work with him or her anymore."
Yeah, because like, we've only had, like this is what, episode 15 of the whole series,
Yeah.
and so we've only had, like, 15 hours with them, but even still, like, it's clear they like working with each other because
Yeah.
the first scene of this episode even, right, like, that level of teasing, I mean, really indicates that Castle's part of this group.
So Castle shows up at Becca's desk. He's feeling a little unsettled here and like unwanted or like what is the word for it? He feels shaken, I think, by his usefulness. So he just so happens to show up and he's like trying to brainstorm finding out the scratched out lady's face, like who she is, and he's trying so hard to be useful, and just by some coincidence I guess he must have showed up late today too, because Beckett says, oh, she's already done that and she's already sent Ryan and Esposito out canvassing to go find her. And so I mean, this is a blow to Castle because he's already feeling like he's on shaky ground, right? So but they head to a it's a hotel, right? They specifically mention it's a hotel that some people live in.
Yes.
Yeah. And they speak to the manager, and he identifies the woman and the child right away. And he actually knows the victim too, because she used to work in the building just a few days prior, and she actually worked for the woman in the photo. Dun dun dun. But they go upstairs and they interview her. Her name is Mrs. Talbot, and her husband is there. He's a doctor, and their kid is there too. And she says that she's kind of like, well, the situation with her getting fired, I feel like it got blown out of proportion. She said that she came back from answering the phone and Eliska had given her son a lollipop, and she's making like a big deal about like how you don't just give a strange kid or some kid candy. And she's talking, they made her sound like almost irrational, but I mean, I think I would
Well,
have
the
gotten
door
a
was closed, right? Like, she closed the door to the
yeah, she
kid's room,
closed the door. Yeah.
gave him the lollipop. It sounds weird.
Yeah, it does. I would be more concerned about a closed door. So
Yeah, exactly. Back to closed doors, as we talked about last time.
yeah, yeah. So, but Mrs. Talbot starts to feel guilty, and she's wondering, "Oh, am I the reason she got killed because she got fired? So is that what led to her death?" And Beckett lets her off the hook, and she insists, "No, it's the fault of the killer." And Ryan finds out that Eliska used to be married and that there was a previous domestic violence call about them. So the next they go to talk to the ex-husband, and they asked to speak to him, and he runs. I thought it was amusing when he runs. Ryan tries to go out the back immediately, and Castle's like in the way. They do that
Yeah.
whole like, oh, 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 sorry. And then while they're giving chase, they run through the kitchen because he was a cook or something. But did you see there was like a man who seemed to like try to stab him with a piping bag?
Yeah, to stop him.
I was like,
That guy
what?
was not in solidarity with him. He was not in solidarity.
What was he gonna do with it? I'm gonna squeeze this on you.
Yeah. Squirt some icing on you, and maybe that will make you stop.
I was highly amused by that. But they catch him and they take him back to the station. He thinks he's being deported because he's been living there for, he says, several years with an expired visa. But then they tell him that Eliska is dead, and he looks really upset. And he explains that the domestic call that they have on file was because she wanted to leave him because she looks too much like their son who passed away. And so actually that makes me wonder like something about this whole thing because I mean that wasn't their son. So is it just coincidence that he looked like them? Like he looked like the son or
I didn't think that kid looked like them at all.
yeah, I didn't either.
I was like, that does not look like them.
Like weren't they both brunette and like the kid was blonde, right?
Yeah, like they had darker features, whereas this kid was like blonde hair, blue eyed.
And very pale.
Yeah.
See, so I think you're going to bring this up later, like wondering like how she got onto this thing. But yeah, I didn't like the mention that this was what their domestic disturbance was about. I feel like they should have just said that being around him reminded her too much, not just that he looked like her or he looked like the son. So, but
Yeah, and I just think that like I don't know. I don't know what your impression is, and we can talk about this later if it makes more sense. But like, to me, it seems like there were two different strands of episode happening here, and they sort of just kind of chose at the end which way they were going to go in terms of why she died.
yeah, I wasn't clear about something else too. But they're trying to find out what landed Iliska in trouble. So Beckett decides she'll go back to the apartment building she was living in and talk to the neighbors. And while they're knocking on doors, Beckett confronts Castle about his other book. And they have like a misunderstanding where like they're talking about two different things. Beckett's talking about Nicky Heat. Castle's talking about his James Bond offer. And they awkwardly dance around each other, like trying to like talk through this whole, are you going to what's going to happen? And so there's this uncertainty in the air, but they're still talking about it when Ryan and Esposito show up, and they haven't had any luck either. And then a woman just so happens to walk by with her suitcase. She was traveling when they were asking around earlier, and she saw someone with Eliska. And so they take her to the station, have her sit down with a sketch artist who is extremely talented.
Hmm.
So they get a picture and it's Dr. Talbot. It looks literally it looks like a picture of him.
Yeah, they did a little too much with that sketch, but yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's like wow, this lady who just came back from her trip, she's got an amazing memory, and this sketch artist is amazing. But even funnier is they show it to Dr. Talbot, and he's like, "Well, there's a similarity, but that's not me." It's like, come on, you're fooling nobody. That is clearly you. So they threaten to take him down to the station to do a lineup, and he admits that he was having an affair with the victim. He says that they met at the hospital that he worked at, and she was upset when she found out that he was married. So I was really confused about the whole timeline here. So they met at the hospital, they were having an affair, and then she just happens to get a job in his apartment building, and then she ends up in his apartment talking to his son. Like, how is this man not freaking out? That's his mistress, right?
Yeah, and so I mean, because this whole thing is like, oh well, I paid her to end it, you know.
So was he actually, you think he was actually having an affair with her, or did he make
No,
that up? No.
he made it up. I think it was
Oh,
something he made
okay.
up for a reason. And I think in terms of writing, I think this is kind of a sneaky misdirect. But this is also kind of what I was saying. I think there's a couple points in the episode where they kind of thread a place for two things to happen here, right? It could be that this woman is so depressed after losing her son that she does engage in this affair with this married doctor who has a kid but won't give her the attention that she wants, and then he kills her. Or they're setting the stage for what comes what we find out at the end is the reason why he kills her. So, I don't know, it kind of seems like they're playing two sides here
Yeah.
because the actual plot or why he killed her doesn't. Anyway, we can wait till that comes up, but it doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah. Yeah, so the affair doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I think you're right. That was made up. So that would actually clear things. And it helps too for him that she's dead and she can't speak for herself, right?
Right.
But Mrs. Talbot and Zane arrive to have lunch with him, and he begs Beckett not to tell his wife about it. And after that, Dr. Talbot's alibi checks out, and Ryan's really surprised because I guess he thought that it was definitely the husband. And then they learn about a complaint that got lodged against Iliska, and so they're gonna get that in the morning because now they've got to go to Castle's lunch party.
Yeah.
I like that Castle arrived with Alexis and Martha.
Yes.
Those are his dates. I like that. And then Paula gives him crap for not calling her back because he actually did get the book deal offer. And but at this point he's like having conflicted feelings, right? Because he likes working with Beckett. I think he loves her at this point already. He's just they haven't gotten around to like saying that much about it. They just dance around it because it's got to be a slow burn, but I feel like he's already smitten, so
Yeah, at the very least, he is enjoying the heck out of this work that he's doing with them, and he doesn't wanna leave the work. I don't think he wants to leave Beckett, but yeah.
but yeah, Paula's ruthless. She's like, "Are you sleeping with her?" And when he says no, she says, "Well, go do it so you can get her out of your system." It's like, ouch.
Mhm, and she's, like, pointing at her and everything too, like, that is,
I
it was, like,
know.
crazy because she's, like, pointing at Beckett, like, "You just go sleep with her," and then she, like, makes a comment about her blue dress, which if that's one of my questions today, I just want you to know I'm not gonna get it right because I don't remember what designer it was, but she makes a comment about her blue dress, and, it's just wild because she's mentions that, like, they had slept together, and, I mean, I think that's also kind of a clue, or points to what you're saying, right, that he kind of is in love with her already, because he's not treating her like maybe he has treated other women that he has been close to,
Yeah, he
where,
doesn't just jump into bed with her.
exactly.
Beckett did look really good in that dress, though.
She did. I like that cut, and the backless dress was really nice on her.
And it looked like her necklace was like stuck to her. It looked like it was applied to her so that it would stay in place.
Hmm.
But Montgomery talks to Beckett and he's like, "Wow, that was a hell of a dedication. Did you see it?" And she's surprised and she doesn't know. So he tells her to go read it. So she goes and looks and she's really moved by his words. And she goes to, I thought this was opening part of this conversation was really sweet because she looked genuinely moved and she thanks him for what he said and she looks so hopeful that he's gonna say the same thing, like some kind of like, "Oh, I really like working with you," because and you can see it in her face, and she's anticipating continuing somehow, like finding some way, right?
Mhm.
But then he says, "I want to tell you something," and then she looks so disappointed when it turns out to be about the case because he asked her, "Oh, what if the wife knew about the affair?" And so Beckett asks about it, and that's when Beckett asks about his book deal with the British secret agent, and he says that he got it, and she congratulates him, and then they have a bit of banter, and it kind of starts turning into like their typical like sliding into bickering and then sliding into fighting thing. But they have a kind of big blowout, and they say some mean things to each other.
Yeah. Which to me, like, that fight was so juvenile,
Yeah,
and I think it's kind of an indicator that they're getting closer and closer to each other, but again, they don't know how to name that.
yeah, they lash
That
out,
they
right?
Yeah, they're lashing out instead of just saying like, "Hey, why don't you keep, shadowing me? I'd be okay with that. I actually liked working with you." Or, "Hey, like I really enjoyed this consulting relationship we have." Like, you know what I mean? Or like even just making the personal connections there of like, "I really like you."
Yeah.
That might be a bridge too far at this point, right? We need the slow burn. But you know what I mean? Like, so it's just they both want to stay together, but neither can name why, and so this becomes a fight.
So the next morning, Castle shows up and she's just very like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, I just came to get my sunglasses." And she's like, "Sure, you did." But he actually does have his sunglasses on her desk. And then she goes to talk to the guys, and he's just kind of standing by her desk, eavesdropping while they give her like the rundown on the report about Iliska. And it was that she got reported for approaching another young boy at the playground. And then Karpowski comes in. She tells Beckett that the landlord called and wants to know if he can rent out her apartment. She's paid up until Friday, but someone wants the unit already, so that's why he's asking. And then Castle picks up on the fact that the apartment rents by the week, and she was killed on a Thursday, so that means that someone paid her more rent or paid more rent for her. So they go back to the apartment and they talk to the landlord, and he asks again, can I rent out the apartment? And what should I do with her stuff? Should I give it to her friend? And he describes the friend as early 40s, well dressed with blonde hair. And so immediately you just think, oh, it's the wife, right? Because they were already talking about how, oh, what if the wife knew about the affair? And so they think that that's her motive. And then so Castle and Beckett go wait in the car for her to show up. And apparently they've been sitting here for a couple hours, right? Because they mentioned that she usually shows up at noon and it's like 2 o'clock or something. So I think they've been sitting in there a while.
Yeah, and I thought it was weird, this part, like, how does she get a mailbox key? Like, do we think they stole her keys when he killed her,
No,
or
no, the lady explains.
oh, does she?
Yeah, okay, so Castle speculates that maybe Beckett mentions that it's ironic that because there was no need and they wouldn't have gone through her mail without probable cause and a warrant. And Castle thanks her for using irony correctly. He mentions Alanis Morissette, and they seem like they're about to have a moment, but then the blonde friend arrives, so they approach her, but we can only see her from the back, and so it does look like the wife just based on the hair. But they go walk up to her, and it's not Mrs. Talbot; it's the nurse that they had talked to at the doctor's office. So
Mhm.
they take her in, and she explains that Dr. Talbot had been renting that apartment for Eliska, and that he gave her the key. So I think what happened was when he killed her, he took her keys and then he
Mhm.
gave it to the nurse, and he just explained, "Oh, this is my mistress's apartment. Here's her key. I have it because she's my mistress." Just, I don't know. This guy is terrible, all around terrible.
Yeah, I mean, getting the nurse to do it, right, so that he's not in the building. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, he's he's we've talked about people in the past cases where we're just like, these are terrible, terrible people. He's a terrible, terrible guy. We'll get to that later. Like the worst thing he does, because in my opinion, that is just horrific. And so Ryan Esposito come back and they talk to the woman who filed the complaint, and she reveals that I don't know how they got to this line of questioning, but it turns out that her son was born on the same date as Zane Talbot, and they were both born at Bryant General. So they call in the Talbots and they explain about the the chef and Eliska's son Marvin and how he died. He was born on the same day as Zane, and like while they're talking, like they already know what's going on, right? Because Beckett is walking around. There's so many doors in this room. She's walking around and closing all the doors so they can have privacy. Or, I mean, I think they're anticipating a confession, right?
Yeah.
So that's what she's closing all the doors for. And I feel like it was like meant to be comforting for somebody, but also intimidating for the husband, like to make him feel like he's being boxed in, kind of thing,
Mhm.
like very subtly. But the wife Melissa, she has a lot of sympathy. She's like, "Oh my god, her son died," and Becky tells him that, "Oh, that's probably why she was giving your son the lollipop. She wanted to get his DNA." And so they tell them about the DNA test that they found, that came in the mail. She had tested her own sample and the Talbot boys' sample, and then before they can look at the results, Dr. Talbot, he confesses. It's all too
Yeah.
much for him. All those closed doors.
When he, like, just starts going on into this whole, like, long story about, like, "Oh, I was just standing there and it would be so easy. All I had to do was just this." And I'm like, "Dude,
Yeah, I mean,
dude."
oh my god. So the terrible thing he does is this. He's not only does he swap these babies, he gives another woman a baby who's gonna die. and
Mhm.
he abandons his own son to die with another family. That is
Mhm.
really bad. That's horrific. Ugh. Like, who does that?
And bonus, he frames it like he's doing his wife a favor.
I know. Like, I was just trying to spare you.
I was just trying to spare you, honey. I didn't want you to like have to go through all that. And it's
Just
like,
didn't know how to tell you. Ugh, dude.
yeah. So I felt so awful for both Aliska, the victim, and Melissa, his wife, because they both experienced something here that, I think what you were saying about like the most awful thing he did here, they both experienced something terrible, which is the loss of their child. Aliska's
Yeah.
child was kidnapped, and Melissa's child dies, and she never knew him.
Yeah, it's awful.
Hmm.
And I wish they had shown a little bit more follow up with what happens to him, or at least mention it, because ugh, he's the
Yeah.
worst. And you know that it's selfish too. I don't buy the whole "I did it for my wife" thing. I think he just didn't want to have to deal on his own with watching his own child die. So
Yeah, like let someone else deal with that, which I think another interesting thing for me that is not explored in this episode, but I could imagine being a thing is Aliska and her husband are undocumented immigrants.
yeah,
And I just imagine like having to provide that type of care for your child for a child who's dying was not easy for them.
yeah,
But would have been easier for the child's biological parents to do so because they
yeah. He's
were
literally a
wealthy.
doctor.
Yeah, and they're living, in this nice apartment. They have money.
Yeah,
And so yeah, in many ways it's just like he didn't want to have to deal with a sick kid.
yeah. But not only like what he does to the mothers, but just the fact that he abandoned his own flesh and blood to just go die with substandard care, right? I mean, who knows? Like, he says it was always fatal, but I mean, he doesn't know this couple. He doesn't know if they're gonna treat this child with like all the love that he needs before he meets his end, right? It's just,
And I mean, who thinks to even do this? Like,
I
who thinks that
know.
this is a good idea? Like, oh, so I know my kid has this really bad genetic condition. Let me just swap them out so we don't have to deal with it. What? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But can I just add, I thought Elaine Hendricks's acting in this scene was so good because she's like putting it together as he's talking, and she's like, please tell me you didn't kill that woman.
Yeah.
And like, it's so, so good.
I do like the switcheroo because, like I said, she gives off this selfish, bitchy kind of vibe. So you don't expect her to be the empathetic, really nice person. And then she turns out to be like that. So I kind of like that.
Yeah, and then, like, she's, like, begging, like I mean, she's kind of, like, going through all the stages of grief at one time, because she just learned, right, that her biological son is not the
Who's
son she's been
dead?
raising, and he's dead. So she's been raising someone else's biological child, and again, like, I don't wanna, like, say, that this kind of, "Oh, you're raising someone else's biological child," and I don't wanna put any labels on that, right? Because people adopt children, people love
Yeah,
their
yeah.
adopted children, but this was not that situation. This was one
She had
person.
no choice, right?
Right. This was one person making a unilateral decision that they were gonna have a sick baby in their house and switching babies, and, I mean, it's just awful all the way around, and so, like, that's why I said, like, I felt terrible for the mothers in this situation,
Yeah.
and so, when she says, "Please, someone tell me what to do," I was just like, "Damn."
The way that they wrap things up is they have a meeting with Montgomery and they explain how Talbot did it. And Beckett kind of credits Eliska for figuring it out and being a great detective and, getting the DNA samples and everything. But you had a question?
Yeah, I mean, for that was the missing link for me. I like that they give Aliska the credit because they would have never figured this out on their
Yeah,
own.
yeah,
And in fact, he probably would have gotten away with murder had there not been a work crew out there that needed to get into that sewer. Because like that's why he took all the measures to like make sure the rent was paid up, get the letter with the DNA sample. Like he would have gotten away with this. But like I'm just so curious like how did she get suspicious? Because we note because this the very next scene, which is sort of the last before the Castle Beckett ending, we know that when the biological father shows the picture of the kid to Melissa, the kid doesn't look much like them. So I
Yeah.
get that. That's one thing. But like even in your grief, how do you make the intuitive leap to my baby was switched at birth?
Yeah.
So that didn't
I
line
think
up.
probably what I mean, I'm guessing it maybe got cut, but if she worked at the hospital, because I don't think that's made up. I think maybe she worked at the hospital and maybe she saw like files or something and something tipped her off, but I don't know. I guess they must have cut it or something for time.
But see, that's the other part, because like you're telling me she found two different families that had babies the same day at the hospital that she did, and she went and tested
Yeah.
both of those kids. That's,
Yeah.
I think that's what I think this is probably my earlier comment about like it seems to kind of set up two different ways that this murder could have happened or the reasons why it could have happened, and then just chose the one at the end that
Yeah.
kind of like the more jaw dropping one, right? Because killing someone over an affair, it's been done a lot, even
Yeah.
on this
A
show,
lot.
and so it does make it a little bit more. It makes it different, makes it stand out more.
Yeah. It could also be that she always never really maybe she always suspected or something.
I mean, because like, listen, they're Eastern European, and that baby was very much giving Western European.
So Zane's next we go to Zane's real father. What was his name? Tudor. But he's waiting outside of the Talbot apartment with Beckett and Castle, and he says his hands are shaking. He's like really nervous, and Beckett explains, mostly to us, the audience, that he doesn't intend to take Zane away from Mrs. Talbot, and he just wants to be part of his life. And so this is kind of like a storybook ending. It's one of those things where I feel like it's highly improbable, but I just accepted it and I really liked it for what they were trying to make you feel. Just like giving you like a nice, because like we were just talking about, the thing that this doctor does is horrifying. And
Hmm.
it's depressing the more you think about it. So I think they needed this little feel good happy ending at the end,
Yeah, I
where
mean, I like this ending, and I can kind of give you the what would happen in real life in this scenario because we've seen
yeah,
this now with like IVF patients who get the wrong embryos implanted and things like that. It's usually things like that. But generally speaking, like technically that is his biological child, but just given the like extreme amount of resource difference here and the fact that the kid has been living with this family for so long and that's the family he knows.
yeah,
I mean, the legal system would probably just keep him in that house anyway with Melissa Talbot.
yeah,
But generally speaking, when they're still infants, how this works out is the biological parent usually gets the kid back.
mm,
So there's many ways it could go, and a lot of it's going to count on, or sorry, a lot of it's going to turn on, things about like how old is a child, and
yeah,
is it a good idea to move them back to this other person? Can the other person actually take care of them now? And I think the issue here is that both of these families have been irreparably harmed by what the doctor did.
yeah,
Like because at the end of the day, that kid's biological mother is dead because his whatever you want to call him father, not really adoptive father, but the father who had been raising him killed her to hide the secret.
yeah, yeah,
And so now that guy's going to prison. And so I think not only was this a storybook ending, but probably the best outcome because, like, we see them, Melissa lets him in and she doesn't just let him in, actually, she invites him in.
yeah,
They talk about her son. He shows her that photo. Then the little boy comes out with the train and is like, Mama, can you fix this for me? And we see his biological father reach out because she's kind of like, I don't know how to fix this. And he fixes that broken toy for him, which I think is really symbolic. And it goes into that storybook ending because if those two people can figure out like how to make this work, where
yeah.
they're, you know,
Their lives
able
are
to like
shattered, right?
lives are shattered. It's, without question, because I mean, like, we don't focus on Theodore too much in this episode, but can you imagine the emotional trauma he went through
I know,
that he's
because
gonna
I
live
mean,
with?
the reason he lost his wife was because he lost his son, and that wasn't even his son
And
to
he watched
begin
that kid
with.
die. They
Yeah,
had
and
to watch that kid die.
thinking that that was their child. That's painful enough. I mean,
So, yeah, I mean, if they can work together, right, and just, I'm not saying
keep Zane's life intact, right? I
right,
mean,
right, and be there for him, and I just don't know how you even begin to explain to this kid what has happened. I mean, they're not gonna tell him right now,
yeah,
obviously,
yeah. But even
but
when he's an
even
adult, right?
right,
That's something insane to reveal to an adult about their early childhood. It's crazy.
it is, but I really like this scene though, because I did think it was nice that, you see the pieces of these 2 families that were broken,
Hmm.
come together.
But so the case is over, and so Beckett and Castle go downstairs, and Beckett thanks Castle because she admits that she couldn't have solved the case without him, which I think is a very big relief to Castle because he's been so worried this whole time that, she doesn't actually need me.
Mhm,
But there's like this whole awkward scene where she's like wishing him good luck on his new book, and it kind of seems like they're about to say something, but then they get phone calls.
uh-huh,
Montgomery's call, just such a romantic comedy timing thing. Montgomery calls Beckett and Paula calls Castle. Apparently, Nikki Heat sales are going through the roof, and he's getting an offer to write way more books because now they're like proven. It's a proven property, and it's way more than he was going to get to write this unnamed British agent series. So
mhm.
meanwhile, Montgomery is on the phone telling Beckett that I don't really understand the whole political angle here in this scene. But basically, the mayor is facing a tough re-election campaign, and he really likes Castle. So I don't know what was the connection here. Like, why was she being told to keep Castle on? I didn't
I mean, they
understand the
coulda just
whole
gone
reasoning
with
here.
they coulda just gone with the mayor wants us to keep Castle on, to be fair. Because like, I'm with you, I don't really get how his reelection actually impacts one way or the other whether Castle stays on,
Yeah.
because it makes his books can make the NYPD look good, which, I mean, I guess in a way could make the mayor look good, but it's coulda just said the mayor wants him here.
Yeah, it just felt
I don't know.
a little muddled, and it didn't really need to be, right?
Mhm.
The episode ends with they're bickering, and then Becca gets a call about another murder, and she walks off, but then she stops and tells Castle, "Are you coming?"
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting that this came in episode 5 because it kind of felt like more like a season premiere kind of thing, with the whole are they gonna stop working together? Are they gotta resolve this by the end of the episode kind of thing?
Well, I think you're right, but I think the kind of the issue here is how episode 10 of season 1 ended, because we needed the first episode of season 2 for them to be okay, right? For the apology,
Yeah.
for, Castle digging into going into Beckett's murder, right? And so we needed that first episode to then get that apology out, and then we had a couple episodes in between,
I,
to
I
give us a little
I guess it
more.
might also be timing too, because Castle started mid season, so maybe they didn't have like the traditional, like, because I guess what I'm trying to say is that episode 10 kind of felt more like a mid season finale,
Mhm.
and then this feels more like a premiere kind of thing. So I feel like they had to just shuffle things around to make it work because it was a short first season. So
Yeah, I think you're right, because again, this is like only the 15th episode of the whole show.
yeah, not even a full season of a typical network show. So
No, because I mean, this could have been, and actually today probably would have been, right? The season 1 finale right here.
yeah, yeah. Okay, watches. Beckett's hair watch. I really liked her hair at the launch party. She looked really good.
I thought so too. It was a half up, half down.
Yeah. Pop culture references, not too many. Just the song "Ironic" by Alanis Morissette. That was a really popular song when it came out. We haven't added any Martha isms because she was just kind of brutal in this one.
Yeah,
Brutal and self-serving.
a little mean.
Yeah. The author's notes. So the unnamed British spy, as we mentioned, is probably James Bond, and Stana Katic was actually in Quantum of Solace in 2008, the year before this episode came out. So I don't. I went to go look up the scene that she was in, and I didn't recognize it, so I must not have seen that movie. Did you watch that one?
I'm actually not a Bond girl.
Yeah, I mean, I watch them like if it's on or something, but I don't
Mhm.
actively seek them out. I think actually the last one I saw was probably Skyfall. I don't even know which
Was
one
that
that
Daniel
is.
Craig?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. I
but
know who the James Bond actors are.
yeah, I used to like him back in the '90s, but I'm not really a big Daniel Craig fan. I liked Pierce Brosnan, so.
Mhm.
And then the man sitting at the table at the lunch party talking to Castle is Tom Straw. He's the actual author who writes the Nikki Heat novels in real life under the pseudonym Richard Castle, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, that is kinda cool.
And then Casket Corner. There were several good ones in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, the book event had its own, like, multi-part,
Yeah,
casket, right? Because like, the inscription, like, I mean, it was a very sweet inscription. Um, like, when Beckett reads it, and then they have that little moment, and I think you were right earlier. Like, I think she wanted more from him in that moment, like, to know that she was special to him, and he
yeah,
didn't give her that, right? And so, I think that kind of is what crystallized into that little fight they had, and so that's
yeah.
another one, right?
She's
Um,
irritated, right?
yeah, yeah. And then, when she finally learns that he's gonna stay on because this is becoming an actual book series, now that it did so well, I
She can
thought
go
that
back to her
yeah.
flippant. You're so irritating.
Yeah, like, so it kind of resolves itself, but not really, right? Because we are starting to see some of these feelings bubble up, between them that they can't really name, or maybe they don't know how to name yet, right?
Yeah. Because that's what these slow burn couples are. They're smart in their detectiving, they're stupid in it when it comes to love and feelings.
2 idiots in love, and I mean,
Yep.
if you were
Yep.
like, I think all of my ships actually fall into that category of here are the 2 idiots who are in love in this show. And I think only, like, 1 or 2 of the shows do the people actually know that they're in love, and then they're just trying to actively avoid it, whereas, like, in most of these shows, they kinda are just like, "Oh, I
Complete
don't know."
denial.
Yeah.
Okay, bestseller list. What was your favorite scene? I was kind of torn on what to choose. I ended up choosing the final phone call scene just because the way Beckett looked kind of wistful and, you know, the way that she was talking to him. So I like that.
Yeah, that was I think one of the funniest parts of your scene for me was when she whispers, "I'm gonna kill you." And Montgomery hears her, obviously, he hears her, and he's like,
Not
"What?
you.
Not you, sir." But my scene was actually the opening scene. It's kind of funny how we bookended this one because, like, admittedly, this is a murder scene, so they probably shouldn't be, like, having so much
Joking
fun in a murder
around.
scene. Yeah, but the body has been taken away at this point, so at least they're not joking over a dead body like this, but when they're teasing Castle for being late and they start mentioning, like, a variety of, like, sci-fi type deaths because they're just messing with them because, like, they know that he would
They
have come and
know
he would have
what he
been like
wants.
right, like, "Oh my god, this is so cool." And so, like, the green goo and, like, I think there was, like, a no one said
The
mauling.
half-eaten corpse.
Half-eaten corpse, the biohazard containers, clearly just messing with him.
Yeah. Favorite lines. I like when he says, "Oh, come on. What man has ever turned you away?" And it's like there's just like it's like a whoosh right over his head. It's like you maybe.
Point yeah, point overhead. Um, and then I like the exchange in the car. "Thank you." So Castle says, "Thank you, Beckett, for what?" For using irony correctly. Ever since that Alanis Morissette song, people use it when they actually mean coincidence. It drives me nuts. And then I think this is actually my favorite part where Beckett responds to him with, "Yeah, well, it must be your great grammatical influence over me." And like she's so sarcastic in that moment too about that. And he's like, well, I'm glad to leave something behind with you. And so I really like their banter there. I know it's more than one line, but I thought their banter there was kind of cute and kind of reinforces like the kind of relationship they have. Plus the fact that, she's a book nerd. She's been reading his books, right? So yeah.
Okay, we're gonna take a quick break and we're gonna put Neosha through her latest pain with a new Beckett's interrogation.
Once again being tortured.
Okay, we're back with a new Beckett's interrogation. The way this works is I'm going to ask 6 questions about the episode we just discussed, and you'll have 5 seconds to come up with the answer. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What did Castle's Czech lollipops taste like?
Oh, we're starting off strong.
Oh, I thought this was the easy one.
No, because I don't remember what he said they tasted like. I remember their wrappers. I'm gonna go with, he didn't say chicken because they didn't taste like chicken. Something sad? I don't know. He said something sad.
He
That's what
said
I'm going with.
soap.
So, see, that's sad to me. If I ate something that tasted like soap,
Especially candy, right?
yeah.
I liked when he tried to pawn off one of the lollipops on Alexis, and Martha
Mhm.
warns her. He said they taste like soap.
Yeah. But I mean, like, this is like the chocolate thing. Cause, like, I know you're in Hawaii and, like, you guys love your chocolate, which is fair. Would never question that. But then, like, you go to other countries and people are like, American chocolate isn't real chocolate. This is the real chocolate. And then you eat it and you're just so disappointed. Cause, like, we all
It's
have
so
our own version
bitter.
of what, yeah, like, we all have our own version of what chocolate should be. And we
Yeah,
don't need to mess with that. We never need to mess with that.
yeah.
Just give me my chocolate. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Question 2. How does Castle reference Beckett in his dedication?
KB.
Yes, the extraordinary KB, but I will accept KB.
That's the second time he calls her extraordinary, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah,
What
because he
was the
does it
first one?
in episode 10 of season 1. He tells her that she doesn't back down. I'm gonna mess up the quote. He tells her, "You don't give up, you don't back down. That's what makes you extraordinary." And he says that to her when he's like in the hospital with Will, or they're in the hospital because Will's been shot.
Okay, question 3. Which of his books did Castle give Paula a paragraph in?
Storm Rising.
Stormfall. Question 4. What hospital does Dr. Talbot practice at?
Bryant General.
Oh, you got that one. Very good. Okay. Question 5. What disease did Eliska's son die of? Or Mrs. Talbot's son, rather.
I don't know. It was a genetic condition. I don't know the name of it.
It was Niemann-Pick, and actually, I just Googled it, and it's actually a real disease. I thought they would have made it up, but apparently it's real.
Is it like something that acts on the chromosomes or something?
Lipids?
Oh, okay.
So it's some kind of cell disease.
Probably then stops like brain development or something.
Okay, question 6. What apartment did the victim live in?
I don't know. It was a hotel. That's what I know.
No, the victim in the crappy
Oh
place
wait,
that was very sad.
wasn't that was not a hotel?
No, the
That
hotel
paid
was
by
what the Talbots lived in.
oh, okay. Um, apartment 47,
5C.
5C.
I wouldn't have known
47 was a safe bet, though. I will tell you that.
that. All right, any last thoughts?
No, overall, I thought this was a great episode for Casket. So things are heating up. I'm excited.
Yeah, and I mean the case I thought was pretty creative. I liked that it took us in a different direction, even though it was kind of horrifying to think about when you go a little bit deeper. But yeah, I really liked it overall.
Yeah. And I guess I know I was kind of critical of like how we got there and like they were setting two things up. But I do think there's something to be said, right, about how you only have 43
Yeah,
minutes
yeah.
and you're moving through it. It's not a whole season's worth of episodes to get to one case. So you kind of have to get there how you get there.
All right. If you're enjoying Rom-Com Detectives, we hope you'll consider taking a minute to leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. For our question of the week, leave us a comment on Spotify, YouTube, or Reddit and tell us whether you own any Nikki Heat novels. If you'd like to join additional conversations about Castle, you can visit the Castle subreddit at reddit.com/r/CastleTV. To contact me and Neoshia, email us at host@romcomdetectives.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Threads, or Blue Sky at Romcom Detectives, or leave us a voicemail or text message at 1-650-733-XOXO or 9696. This episode of Rom-Com Detectives was recorded on April 17, 2026. Rom-Com Detectives Castle Unit is co-hosted by Kristen Watanabe and Neoshia Roemer and is produced by Pico's House. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you guys next time for our breakdown of episode 6, Vampire Weekend. Bye.
Bye, everyone.